Does social media make you feel like you're not good enough? Do you worry about getting bullied by trolls and haters? Or perhaps you find yourself getting hopelessly addicted to social media that you can't stop checking your social media accounts. If that's you, take a deep breath, relax, because we got you covered. Hi, this is Eric here, and you're listening to #Highly Sought After. My guest today is highly qualified to help you manage and even reduce the stresses that comes with social media. She's a certified mindfulness-based stress reduction teacher who has helped many stressed out professionals reduce stress and become more mentally resilient. She's also a professional stress management consultant recognized by the Institute of Motivational Living. She hosts regular mindfulness practice sessions for communities like the Big Seat and Take a Pause. What a meaningful name. In today's interview, Erin is going to be helping us overcome the dark side of social media through the lenses of mindfulness. So if you want to enjoy the benefits of social media without the harmful effects of it, this is the interview to listen to. Hi Erin, nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me here.
Now, I'm curious. I feel like there's a backstory behind yours because I know you were in corporate. And
Yes.
then you went into mindfulness full time.
I did.
What is your backstory? How do you end up becoming a mindfulness coach?
Oh wow, how do I tell this in a very succinct way?
No, take all the time.
Take all the time. Okay.
It's a podcast.
Okay.
Take all the time you want.
Okay. Well, I worked in corporate communications for about 10 years. And through that 10 years, I was just going into cycles and cycles of burnout. So I called myself the burnout queen because with every job that I went into, I just put a 200% in it. I would exhaust myself, and then I would have a total breakdown. I would quit my job, and then I would find a new job desperately, and then just begin the cycle again. So
How do you know you were burnt out?
okay, that's a very good
Because we
question.
use that a lot, right? Oh,
Yes.
feeling burnt out, right? How do you know
Right.
yours was real?
I think for burnout, usually people see it as when you allow your stress to just roll and accumulate to a certain point, and then you suddenly lose all interest in everything that you do, right? Particularly with work. And while stress is something that's takes a physical toll on you, you feel physically tired, and with stress there's always this sense of urgency, right? I have to complete this deadline, that deadline, I have to do this, do that. But when you reach a stage of burnout, it often feels like nothing matters anymore. And
I'm laughing because I'm believing a lot of listeners listening to you are like, yeah,
and
that's
being
me.
able to relate, right? Yeah. And it's very emotionally draining as well. And you just feel like you've lost all motivation and all interest, and you feel there's a sense of helplessness. You feel you want to give up, and you're just in this perpetual downward spiral that you never know it's gonna end. And you just so that's
Wow.
so you just go into this overall breakdown, and you just want to call it quits to everything.
Got
Yeah.
it. And so you had a series of those burnouts.
I had a series of them, and each worsening over time until my last job as a PR consultant with an agency, and
Yes.
that was like the last straw on the camel's back. And I still remember I was in the middle of a PR event, public relations event, and it was all glitzy and glamorous and everything. And that was kind of like the life that I lived professionally. Until I was during that event, I was made to carry a really expensive luxury handbag, right? Because I was helping my client and everything. She was going up on stage and receiving some award or something. I cannot remember. And I just remember in that moment, that bag actually helped me. It was quite amazing. It was like for the first time, I noticed myself, right? The weight of the bag just reminded me that my body is here, and suddenly everything just faded away. And I was very, very aware, very conscious that it's like every cell in my body was crying for help. And I recognized, oh, this is what I've been feeling all along. This is how tired I've been. It's like every cell of me is drenched in exhaustion, right? And it's not just physical exhaustion, it's also like an emotional exhaustion and mental exhaustion. And that was the very first time that I felt I ever truly paid attention to myself over the years of working.
And would you say that that was that moment of mindfulness?
Definitely, it was a moment of mindfulness because mindfulness is really about being aware and paying attention. And that was the first time, of course, I wasn't skilled at it. And I think that moment meant to come, right? And I was very fortunate to have that moment arrive for me in time before a total breakdown.
Meltdown.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what happened after that?
What happened after, I was also I'm quite a pragmatic person as well, although I do like to dream, but I recognized that I needed to help myself. And I put on a very resourceful front, and I basically searched for different ways of helping myself. So I took a step back from my work. I converted to a part-time position in the company, and that allowed me some time and some space to explore. And that's where I went to I became a hypnotherapist actually during that time. I went for meditation, my first silent 10-day meditation retreat, and that was absolutely life-changing for me. So everything just started rolling from there, and I made the transition from there.
Tell us a little bit about that meditation retreat. I sense a story there. Because you have to face it, that was your first meditation retreat, right?
That was my very first, and I did not know what I was going into.
Exactly.
I had absolutely no idea what that retreat was about. I just had a really close friend tell me, hey, you've been, thinking about what you want to do, and I've always sensed that you're a very Zen-like person, so why don't you go for a meditation? So I just basically searched meditation retreat. So I was in China then. I was working in China. So I was just searching for one around the area.
Yes.
And that's when I found one, and I just enrolled, and
Tell us,
I just went.
What was it like?
10 days doing nothing but sit and meditate and sleep and eat and sleep. That's it.
Are you able
Rinse
to
and
make
repeat.
friends?
We're not supposed to talk.
Oh my God. This is like hell for me.
Yeah, so there were like 100 people in the retreat center, and we were all together, but we were not allowed to even make eye contact or whisper or make physical contact throughout the 10 days. So it was like you're basically by yourself, and it was quite an intensive experience, not just the silence itself, but also the practice of it.
Exactly, because I can imagine that you have no Netflix, no distraction. So essentially you're with yourself, which means you're listening to your thoughts, right? What was the experience like?
It was bizarre at first, very bizarre.
What do you mean?
The moment I had to turn in my phone, they kept our phones in a locker, right?
Yes.
And it sounds like it's very boot camp, and in a way it really was.
Yeah.
But I was thankful because without all these distractions, I got to really, really pay attention to myself. So I got a taster of paying attention to myself during the PR event, right? And but this was 10 days, consecutive days of just being by myself. So besides being privy to my thoughts, I think what was most life-changing was I was also privy to my body, which is very rare nowadays because we're just so in the head space all the time that we're just basically very cut off from the body. But the body has so much to tell us about ourselves, about the anxiety that we experience every day, about the stresses, about our state of mind. The body can tell us a lot. So one of the most memorable experiences that I went through during the first retreat was that we were encouraged to sit for 1 hour without moving. So we were not supposed to open our eyes, we're not supposed to change our posture, and basically you're just cross-legged on the floor and you sit like a statue. You try to sit like a statue for 1 minute and 1 hour.
1 hour.
And being the perfectionist that I was and the high achiever, I really just dived into it, right? So I was really strict and disciplined with myself, and I refused to move an inch.
And wouldn't you have like cramps?
Oh, that was the
aches?
most excruciating pain that I've been through in my life.
Yes.
And it was also life-changing because the pain also taught me so much about myself. And we can tell a lot about ourselves from observing how we respond to certain struggles that we face in life. And that was the moment when I realized that the physical pain was not unlike the mental and emotional pain that I was facing in life. life in general. So by learning to work with the physical pain, it's akin to developing the skills that are needed to work with the mental, the emotional pain in our life. And that was like the magical moment. I mean, it's not magic. It's really not magic. It's a life skill, but it felt like a very magical moment to me to realize that, oh, I can learn to work with my pain, not exacerbate my pain, but just learn to work with it. And we started that 1 hour sitting from I think day 5 onwards. And it took me 2 days of constantly sitting for 1 hour, for me to get used to that pain. And I think about the 7th or 8th day, the pain, during one of the sits, the pain completely disappeared.
Oh my.
In a sense that I could still feel the pain, but very strangely, it did not bother me at all. Right? And that was the life-changing moment. That's when I realized no matter how much pain life throws me, I know that I can work with it.
Oh my God, it's so
Yeah.
powerful. This is something that money can't buy. Because, I mean, we all know this, right? That there's a saying, they say that pain is weakness leaving our body, pressure produces power. We all know this, right? It all sounds good on paper, but when push comes to shove, we have to deal with pain. A lot of us can't take it.
And actually the normal response to pain is a turning away, right? You distract yourself.
100%. But you are saying that we need to actually learn to get used to the pain, to be uncomfortable with the pain, to sit with the pain.
To rest with the pain, to observe the pain.
And do we need to remove the pain?
Well, sometimes we can't control it, right? So we can't control what kind of pain life throws us, right? So we learn to work with it instead of trying to wish it to go away.
When you say work with it, you use it many times. Guys, we're going to talk about the dark side of social media in a short while, okay?
Right.
But, Erin, you just opened a Pandora box and it's a very interesting one.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say work with your pain?
So when I work with my pain, it's not that I am free from pain now, okay? So I
Yes.
still experience a lot of pain physically,
mental,
mentally.
yep.
But working with pain to me means being able to just be with it without trying to push it away. Because there's a lot of pain that we can't push away. So when we learn to just rest with it, in mindfulness, we call this a non-judgmental kind of awareness, right? So non-judgmental means that it's really having a balanced state of mind. So when life throws us any highs and lows, we're not wishing for the highs. We're not wishing for the lows to go away. And we just maintain a very balanced state of mind, which is a very Zen state of mind that people call. It's what we call equanimity as well, feeling equal.
Could it be acceptance? Would acceptance be an
Yes,
accurate word?
definitely. So we learn to accept it, but acceptance, people tend to also misunderstand it as you are, how do I explain this? When
There's a resignation, maybe like, I
Yes.
accept it, too bad.
yes,
Right?
or come hurt me, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me anymore.
That's not what you
and
meant, right?
That's not what we mean.
That means it's basically non-judgmental because we tend to put a certain value or judgment value to it. Oh, this is good, this is bad.
Yes,
Right? But what you're
yes.
saying is that when that pain comes, we may feel it, but we don't have to judge that pain to be good or bad.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's part of working with it.
Yes, and
Okay,
it's really difficult, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But let's say I get through that part where I could accept the pain, right? Then what's the next step?
Well, I would say that usually, and that's a very common question that people ask, right? So for example, if I were to teach an 8-week MBSR program, mindfulness-based stress reduction program. So it's people complete the 8 weeks with me, and then at the end of the 8 weeks, they'll tell me, so what's next? Is there like a level 2
Yeah.
program for me? It's like an advanced mindfulness practitioner.
Like, can I move things in my mind?
Exactly. So, so there really is no need to do anything. And with the practice of mindfulness, with the practice of acceptance and non-judgmental awareness, we're not trying to do something about it. But this is something that we're so accustomed to.
So true.
Yeah, because we always want to problem solve and try to
Yes.
find a solution to it. And which is fine. Problem solving is a good skill to have. But with mindfulness, sometimes the solution comes with acceptance. So maybe when we work with having acceptance and having awareness and learning to work with the pain without trying too hard, the solution comes to us.
Wow, okay, very nice. So instead of us looking for the solution, the solution, kind of like when the water steals itself.
You can see things
and you can see
clearly.
things clearly, and then
Yes.
the solution will just surface.
Yes.
Gosh, guys, I felt like, I'm going through a very, very nice therapy lesson and I love it, okay? Now, so So we get it. You had a profound experience, a series of burnout, and then you went for your retreat. You started seeking about meditation and mindfulness. And how long was that journey, by the way?
It was really progressive, I would say. So it took me, for example, to be certified to teach the program, which is like the gold standard in the secular mindfulness industry, it took me probably 3 years
Wow.
to get fully certified. 3 years. And then I also took a master program on the side. So it
Took a long time.
It took a long time. Yeah.
So how had mindfulness helped you so much that you were willing to even get yourself certified to help other people? Because I would have assumed that, okay, you had a problem, right? So you got burnt out, you want to seek a solution, you went for mindfulness, you love it. Yay, life's changed, done. But something must have been so impactful to you that you decide that you want to pay it forward. What was it?
So during my first meditation retreat, the 10-day one, every night we have discourse by the teacher, right? So during one of the discourses, during one of the evenings, he gave a discourse that left a deep impression in me, and it was quite life-changing. He actually told the teachings of the Buddha. So this is the teachings of the Buddha, who said that there are 4 kinds of people in this world. The first kind are people running from brightness to brightness. The second kind are people running from darkness to brightness. The third kind, people running from brightness to darkness. And the fourth kind, people running from darkness to further darkness, right? So what kind of person do you want to be?
Okay. I would definitely want to be brightness to even brighter.
Okay, so you recognize that you are in a place of brightness, right now, and
that was so unconscious. I didn't even think of me in the dark place.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, right?
But if I analyze, I might think, maybe I'm in the dark place. But it was very natural. So okay,
right,
anyway.
yeah. So, but a lot of people also, when they're in a place of brightness, they may not realize it, and they may, out of habit or out of past habits or the larger environment, they may go back to a place of darkness, right? Yeah. So it was so powerful to me, and I've always held this as like my value in life, that no matter what I do, no matter what decisions that I make, no matter what behaviors I engage in, I always want to make sure that I am running towards brightness. No matter whether I'm in a place of darkness or already in a place of brightness, I want to make sure that I continue moving towards brightness. And I really wanted to help people see the same and to experience the same, and to recognize that no matter what kinds of place of darkness that we come from, we have the capacity to move towards a place of brightness. Yeah.
So at the last day of that retreat, how were you changed as a person?
Oh my, not much. Not much, really. And it may come as a surprise because, we've built it up such that, it's such a powerful experience.
Yeah.
But we are creatures of habit, right? Before I went for the meditation retreat, I really had a problem with binge drinking as a way to get out of my stress.
Absolutely.
I distracted myself from the pain by drinking excessively. And I recognized that I had a problem with that. And I went to the retreat with the intention of trying to kick the habit. And in that retreat, of course, you don't get to drink, right? And
so you kind of kick the habit.
Yes, for that 10 days. But I recall I was actually in Taiwan then. I did the retreat in Taiwan. And the very day that I got out of the retreat, that very evening, I went drinking.
Yeah, to celebrate.
To celebrate, sort of getting out of prison, that kind of thing, right? Well, I didn't want it to happen, but we have to recognize that we have spent so many years building up certain habits or certain patterns in us, and we can't expect a quick fix or quick solution, right? So it's not a pill, and a pill can't solve all these things. So it's a skill that you build over time. So it actually took me, after the retreat, it took me quite a few years to completely stop drinking even, and to completely do an overhaul of my way of life. And that's how long it takes, but it is powerful because we know that change is possible.
And it takes time.
It takes time.
Little by little, right?
Yes.
So how long was that journey from the day the handbag incident happened till today? What was the time span already?
I started in about 2014.
Okay, so about
2014.
7 years.
Yes.
Now, the Erin that we know today
Yes.
and the Erin that we know in 2014, what are some of the key differences?
Definitely more aware. Definitely more comfortable with discomfort. And also, one of the most important realizations is that I've discovered that I don't function on my own. I don't function independently, which is what a lot of us, conscious or unconsciously, live by. So we think, when we are suffering, when we are going through stresses, we feel we're alone, we feel
So
isolated,
true, yes.
and nobody understands me.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we also engage in behaviors that we think only we ourselves are responsible for, right? So when we go into stress, we also engage in self-destructive behaviors, like maybe like stress eating or
Yeah.
getting addicted to social media
Yeah.
or maybe even posting things on social media without understanding that we are all interconnected, right? Just like social media, just like the internet, we're all
Yeah.
interconnected, and whatever that I put out there has an impact on other people. So I have come to realize that the way that I manage my own suffering does have an impact on the people closest to me and also furthest away from me, right? So the closest would be my family. So when they see me suffer, they suffer. When they see me well, they also benefit from it. And people who are far away, so, as whatever that I post on Facebook, for example, right? We don't know who is going to see it. So
Yes.
how do we make the decision? Do we want to post something that's positive, that's helpful, that's wise, or do we want to post something that's the complete opposite? And how would this impact other people?
That's beautiful. So not only the practical side is there's no more need for that drinking and you're comfortable with discomfort, but you start to gain awareness of interconnectedness.
Yes.
That thing that we read a lot about being one, and we hear that a lot. I don't claim I know it experiential, but I sense that what you see is you're not alone, you're not an individual, but you're one. And that gives you the bigness of how you want to live your life, right?
It sounds very how do I say it? It sounds really big, right? Really huge.
Like grandeur.
But but it really goes down to how we live our day-to-day lives. So something as simple as since COVID period, a lot of people are working from home and they're starting to feel the stresses. Oh, I'm stuck at home with my family. I can't concentrate on work. So it takes a lot of adjustments of the dynamics in the family, right? And it takes mindfulness of our behaviors and knowing that, hey, I'm not here alone. So let's say when I'm on a video call and I need silence around me, my family members, they understand and they give me that silence for that period of time. Right? And that is a recognition of interconnectedness. You don't own that space alone. You share it with someone. So it's the same thing when we're managing our struggles, our stresses. We understand that we impact one another and we're not alone in our sufferings, and everyone suffers just the same. Right? And understanding this common humanity, it's very important for our practice.
Wow. Okay. So at the very least, if I'm going through a struggle, which is very interesting. Every time a person, okay, at least me, okay, every time I go through a struggle, I tend to retreat rather than advance, right? And it's a dark world sometimes in our mind when we retreat.
How do you retreat?
I will basically just start indulging in self-destructive behaviors, binge eating, watch lots of Netflix and kind of wish my problems away. And sometimes not being able to, call a spade, which is to say that I really do have that problem.
Right.
But I realized that I remember there was a period in my life where I was going through a lot of anxiety, right? And it's very ironic, Erin, because people come to me and you, right, for hope, for brightness, and so it's kind of suck when you're in a dark world because you attach your identity to your brightness,
right?
And I was embarrassed by it. I was embarrassed by that. Why am I feeling these dark thoughts? Like, didn't I tell people that you should always think positive? Like, why am I feeling all these things? Why am I getting anxiety? Why am I getting panic? And I felt embarrassed, and when I felt embarrassed, I retreated because I have no idea how to deal with it. Yet at the same time, I had no one to reach out to because I don't want to look weak and vulnerable. But I guess, as you said, human beings, after a while, when you cannot take it anymore, you reach out.
Right.
And
It is important to reach out.
Yeah, and I reached out to one person who I felt had been through what I've been through before, because I thought I was going through depression, and I felt, and she had clearly told me before that she has been through depression. So I sat down with her, and I remembered meeting her at Dempsey Road, the PS Cafe, very nice cafe, eating truffle fries, drinking tea. And I was sitting there by myself, and she came and we spoke for about 4 hours.
Wow.
And just by me reaching out, my biggest realization was it was exactly what you just said, which is I'm not alone. Like what I'm going through, it's not unique. It's what people have gone through. You don't have to be shy about it. It's part of a process. And I realized that, it took a while, but me admitting that I had a problem and me reaching out to people who could solve that problem gave me strength.
Yes.
And then that strength allowed me to help someone later on. So I from then on, I had a new narrative about my pain. That, you know what, pain, me going through all the messes, it's going to help strengthen me, because one day I would then be able to go to someone who's going through that same problem and tell them that, hey, I've been through that and I want to help you.
Right.
So I have a new narrative about pain. But
that's
wonderful. I'm sorry that it becomes about me.
No,
absolutely.
That's wonderful.
See, Erin,
thank you for sharing
such
that.
a good coach. Feels like a coaching session. So Erin, we get you totally, at least your backstory and your journey. And thank you so much for, calling a spade a spade. Sometimes people wish for the sizzle and the grandeur, but maybe that's not the way it is, right? So going back to today's topic, there are the good side of social media. And I preach that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people, you need to be on social media, you need to be consistent, you need to put yourself out there, and my people do that, right? But it comes with the stresses. And today we're going to tackle 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 1, inadequacy. People tend to put a lot of their highlights of their life out there. And you know how we know ourselves very well. So we tend to compare the behind the scenes with people's highlight reel, and that makes us extremely depressed.
Yes.
So that's one, right? Feeling inadequate, feeling that you're not good enough. Second one is you get a lot of negativity on social media.
Yes, we do.
A lot. There are a lot of hurtful people out there, and hurtful people hurt people, right?
Yes.
And so when you put out a piece of content, you get like really bad feedback, bad negative feedback, haters, critics, trolls that really make your life difficult, right? Cyberbullying, we call that. And then the third one, it's a big one, addiction.
Right.
There are some numbers to prove that. If you don't believe you're addicted, just check how many times you check your social media. You'll know whether you're addicted.
Yeah.
So Erin, maybe let's focus on the first one first, inadequacy. What's the science behind it? Why do we feel that way? I thought social media is supposed to make us feel good, right? But why the more we surf social media, the more sucky we feel sometimes about ourselves?
So I remember, I still do sometimes actually, because I'm still using social media a lot, although I've cut back a lot, and I have a different way of approaching it and using it nowadays. But I still remember when I first started using, I'm not going to count my space. I'm just revealing my age here.
Oh my God, yes, you did. You just did. It's okay. I also know my space, so we're probably the same generation.
But let's talk about Facebook.
Yeah.
That looking back, there was a stark difference between how I used Facebook before meditation, before mindfulness, and after. So before mindfulness, before meditation, I remember, I was really active, and I would really put myself out there. I would always feel that there was a certain image that I had to portray on social media, and this image that I had attached myself to, this identity, was very much what I thought other people saw me. Right? It wasn't really what I wanted to be. And maybe I had no idea what I wanted to be. But essentially, I was going through the same thing as well. I was looking at what my friends, what my peers, they were putting up there, and there was constant comparing, right? And we can never see everything or anything as it is, right? So, for example, when looking at this highly sought after cup, a cup is just a cup, right? But we have to say, oh, he has such a gorgeous black cup with gold rims and it's gorgeous. Why don't I have that? So we are very, it's also, I wouldn't call it natural, but we are very conditioned to add a lot of things, a lot of spices to our perceptions. Everything that comes into our awareness, we want to add a lot of layers. So a man is not just a man, it's how attractive he is, it's how intelligent he is, right?
Yeah.
So we see everything this way. And I think social media kind of exacerbates that because you get to curate stuff. Right? You get to curate stuff, and that's when you want to show the best side of yourself, or you see the best side of yourself, and that's where the comparison comes. So I would say that it's not new, this feeling of inadequacy. Back in school, before we had the internet, right? When we had friends, we would constantly compare what's she wearing, what's he
That's
wearing.
so true.
Right?
How
What
come his
brands-
pencil case, you press that button and that thing will come out? Remember that there's this pencil case?
Yes.
1980s. Right? And I was like, how come my pencil case is not as nice? But initially, before I saw his pencil case, I was happy with mine.
Yeah.
So
Exactly,
you're saying that
yeah.
that's what human nature, that we have a tendency to compare?
I wouldn't call it human nature. I'm very
Yeah.
cautious about that word.
Okay.
I think it's just something that we have built up
Conditioned.
over the conditioned. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And they say that comparison is a joy stealer, right?
It is. It definitely is.
So now we understand that, we are conditioned to compare, right? And comparison actually have led us somewhere, right? When we compare our friends, I remember our parents would go like, see your cousin so smart,
So smart.
study so much.
Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you doing, right? And then you do the same, so you study hard and you got the results. Then you start to realize that, maybe comparison is not bad. But you're right. Social media allowed us to see that in Chinese, 一山再比一山高, right? One mountain is always going to be higher than another.
Yes.
So the differences start to be very apparent.
And it gets magnified, I think, with social media.
Because what we see on social media may not always be real.
Exactly.
So question now is, how do we deal with that? How do we make sure that when we go on social media, we don't feel those inadequacies and that we're not good enough? Is that a practice that we can...
Yeah, I think a practice in mindful awareness lays the groundwork for everything, including, feeling inadequate on social media. I mean, even now as a mindfulness teacher, people see me as a wellness coach, a wellness teacher. I am privy to a lot of comparisons in the wellness circle as well. So if you look at Instagram, if you look at Facebook, and look at the other coaches out there, they post super beautiful pictures of their products, of themselves, and you have to have a certain identity, you have to dress a certain way, you have to look a certain way. So, even when we're advocating wellness of the mind, there's a lot of this going on, right? So how do you manage all this? It's not that we can escape from these struggles or these sufferings. So our practice in mindfulness helps a lot in being able to see through all the layers of narratives that you are placing on yourself or every experience that comes our way, and to always challenge these narratives, to challenge these perceptions. So there are always 3 questions that I like to ask. I didn't come up with these 3 questions, but I've read them a lot and I find them to be very, very helpful. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it necessary? And I think these 3 questions are very helpful, especially for addressing feelings of inadequacy, because these are narratives. It's not the truth, right? It's not the truth. So when you feel I'm not good enough, we always want to challenge that. So it's kind of like you're sort of just piercing through some layers of membrane or fog or something to get to
It's like shining light on that thing, right?
to what it really is, right? So is it true that I'm not good enough? Is this thought, is this perception helpful? Is
the
it
second one
necessary?
is so powerful.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by is it necessary? Is this thought necessary?
Is it necessary for your situation, right? So let's say I'm trying to do good work out there. So I'm trying to put up an Instagram post about mindfulness and everything, but I'm constantly comparing my post to some other influencer's post, for example. And I need to ask myself, is this necessary, right? Or have I forgotten my intention of this work?
Is the comparison necessary?
Yes.
And that question leads back to intention. Like wait a sec. I'm doing all this because I want to be better than another wellness coach. Am I doing it better because I want to fulfill my mission?
Or are you doing this because you want to help serve the market you're meant to serve?
Beautiful. So would you mind recapping again? What are the 3 questions that we need to ask ourselves to question that comparison thought?
So is it true? Is it helpful? Is it necessary?
Beautiful. Now, second one.
Yes.
Second bad. I call it the second baddie of social media.
Yeah.
Right? Trolls, haters. Right? A lot of people out there, right? I remember when I put out a video, a positive video, telling people, hey, pressure produces power. It's okay to have pressure.
Right.
And then I get people questioning, is this guy a ching chong? Is he or is the CEO of Know It All or something like that? That was like really a lot of negative comments. I mean, and of course there are positive comments, but you know how it is. We tend to focus on that little dust.
We are wired to do that, actually.
Yeah, why are we wired to focus on the bad? Like, on an entire week, there could be 10 things that happened that were good that happened. But that one thing that was bad, that was the only thing we focus on. Why?
So there is this author called Rick Hansen, and he studies the brain, and he's a meditator. So he wrote this book called The Buddha's Brain. And he has this analogy for how the brain is wired. And he says that when it comes to positive, pleasant experiences, the mind is like Teflon. You know Teflon? We coat it on non-stick pans, so everything just slides off, right?
Yeah.
So positive things happen to us, and we just
Slides off.
we forget it, or we don't notice it at all. But when it comes to negative experiences, our mind is like Velcro. It just sticks.
Such an amazing analogy.
It is. And it goes back to, evolutionarily speaking, we are wired to look out for dangers or threats, right? So we tend to focus more just so that we can survive. So we can see it as, a survival. But the mind doesn't differentiate between a tiger that jumps out at us and a nasty comment that doesn't really have to do anything.
So true.
Right? So being able to understand this and being able to practice, again, non-judgmental awareness is a good thing. So just seeing a comment as a comment, words as words, and being able to keep revisiting those 3 questions.
Oh, so we can practice the same thing as well.
Absolutely.
So number 1, we need to understand is we are wired to remember the bad stuff more.
Yes.
Right? So it doesn't mean that the bad stuff is that big.
We tend to magnify them so that we can survive better, right? We run away or we fight it or something. That's the classic fight, flight, freeze kind of response.
See.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say, for example, 10 things. So I got 10 positive comments, but 1 really negative comment. So I'll look at that comment and then I'll ask the same 3 questions.
Try it.
First one is it true?
So they called you what? A CEO of Know It All.
Yeah.
Right? So is it true?
Well, he's right. I'm not a CEO of Know It All, and that was not the intention of me wanting to be a CEO of Know It All. So it's not true. He's right. Number 2, does it help? Is it helpful?
Is it helpful? So you can think of you can think of it from your perspective or the troll's perspective, right? So from your own perspective, if you're affected by it, right? And if you're feeling badly about yourself right now, you may want to ask yourself, is this helpful?
Is this emotion that I'm feeling right now helpful? Obviously not. It's ruining my day, right? And then the last question would be, is it necessary?
Yeah.
So is it necessary for me to let it ruin my day?
Yes.
And then I would say, of course not. And then I would think back to my mission or my purpose. Like, okay, what's the intention of me creating this video? To help the people that wants to be helped, right? So go where I'm celebrated. Oh, wow. Okay, now it seems like all that happens in that one moment, right? In that second. Is that true? Is that what mindfulness is about?
It's always in the moment, and it's always moment by moment, right? Because an experience doesn't just last one moment. It can just keep continuing. So let's say the moment you see that troll's message, right? It's a bullying message, and it triggers a certain reaction in you, and you need to know it in the present moment. You need to know it there and then that, oh, I'm having this reaction. And you observe yourself. Yeah. You need to observe yourself in each moment. So for example, you're feeling, let's say name me an emotion that you may feel.
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Okay, good question. Good. So when you feel anxiety, anxiety can be an emotion, right?
Yeah.
And does anxiety have a feeling in your body?
Yes, there's a heaviness in the chest. Oh, that's an interesting question. No one has asked me that. Like, I just thought an anxiety is anxiety or worry is worry. But yeah, if it's a physical sensation, then I feel a heightened breathing, like shallow breathing a little bit.
Okay.
And then I felt a little bit of pressure in the chest.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on in the body, but typically we don't notice that because we are in the headspace. And when we are in the headspace and stuck here all the time, anxiety can develop into a lot of ruminative thoughts, right? And you start to ruminate over this troll's comments.
Yeah, that thought.
Am I not good enough? Am I a fraud? Am I an imposter? What am I doing? And it can just go on and on.
Spiral downwards.
Yes, but when we learn to shift our attention to the body level, the physical level, we understand what the body is going through. We understand what the body is trying to tell us. Oh, there is anxiety here. But this anxiety is not me, right? It's not my identity. It is something it is state of body, state of mind that's happening right now. So I learn to observe it without further reacting to what I'm observing. And I just rest with it. Just like we're going back to what we discussed at the start of the session.
The acceptance.
Resting with it. Acceptance, non-judgmental awareness. And sooner or later, this is going to pass.
I see. Because like sometimes, what's very interesting is I will have a good day, and then I will start thinking about, but in 2 weeks' time, 2 days' time, I'm going to deliver a speech that I may not enjoy.
Right.
And then I will just feel a little bit gloomy, and I'll feel a bit sad. I won't say, I'll feel a bit worried, and it affects the whole day. So what you're saying is that then the next time around is to recognize when there's a switch of emotion, like suddenly I feel a certain emotion, anxiety.
You may not suddenly feel the emotion. It may be very subtle. It may build up. It's something that builds up over time. So as we practice mindful awareness of ourselves every day, our awareness gets sharper and sharper. And that's when we're able to notice even the slightest shifts in our moods and emotions. And the earlier that you detect them, the earlier that you notice them, the more unlikely that you will become overwhelmed by them. Because you're addressing them early.
Which is also the reason why we need to practice mindfulness as a habit, like to pay attention to things. Because if we keep paying attention to how we feel, then it becomes a habit.
Yes, it's I would call it a skill more than a habit.
Okay,
right? It's just like you learn to swim. The more you swim, the better you get at it.
That's true.
The better you are able to survive if you were to get dumped in the ocean. So the same with mindful awareness. The more you practice it as a skill, the more easily you will notice these shifts in your internal landscape. In times of stress.
So very cool. So let's say I'm doing my thing, and then it's supposed to be a good day, and then I notice that my breathing is getting shallower. I'm getting a little bit feisty, or there's a physical tightness in the chest. So I recognize that, and then that's when I would take note. Wait, what was I thinking? A thought that led to that. Is that part of?
So you may not need to analyze your thoughts, right? You may just notice that, I have these negative thoughts coming in.
Yeah.
Right? And you just notice them. Thoughts are thoughts. They don't define you. So if we were to give too much attachment to our thoughts, let's say a thought comes in, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were to attach to this thought and believe it and start believing it, right? It overwhelms you. And that's where the trouble starts.
Yeah, it seems like we get distracted a lot by those random thoughts, like what you say, I'm not good enough, or oh my God, tomorrow you got a speech, you're not prepared, or they're not gonna like that speech. But they are really very random thoughts. And I'm going to practice the same thing. So number one, is it true? Right? I'll ask myself, wait, is it true, that thought? What if I say that, wait, it's justified? Then I could do something about it, right?
So ask the next question.
Which is it helpful? Is that thought helpful? Then I probably would say no, because right now I'm doing a podcast, right? It's not helpful for me to think about tomorrow's speech because tomorrow is tomorrow, right? And then is it necessary for me to entertain it, right? And obviously not, I want to be present.
Yeah.
My God, these 3 powerful questions are useful. Guys, I tell you, I'm equally noob like all of you, okay? I'm not assuming that you guys are noob, okay? But I'm just saying that I was telling Erin, offline just now, that, hey, you know what? I'm looking forward to this conversation because mindfulness is something that I know logically is important, but I could never... I haven't internalized it or have a profound experience of it yet. And so I really appreciate your patience.
I do want to add here, Eric, that the 3 questions are very helpful. And when we first start to understand it, it's like, wow, there's this like epiphany kind of feeling. But it's really not easy to practice it when the situation comes, because we are so used to reacting. We're reacting every single day, right? And if let's say, you're just so used to spiraling down, very likely, even though in that one moment, you can ask yourself these 3 questions and you're trying to process it in a wiser way, in a more logical way. But the next moment comes, you're going to start reacting again because you're so accustomed to this conditioning.
So what can we do?
So you have to keep practicing. And so there are different skills in mindfulness to help you to do that, right?
Would you be able to share one? So, but before you share that, you reminded me of something. There was a scene in Spider-Man where the guy was about to punch him, and because he's fast, everything slowed down so much, and he was able to analyze that punch and go, hey, should I avoid the punch or should I just punch him back?
Right.
Would you say that that's like mindfulness, where like something hit you, a thought, a person, a comment, right? Most of us just get bashed by that thought, right? But if we have mindfulness, we're able to slow down that moment and go, how do I want to react? Well, I could react the default way, which is to be upset, which is my standard way, or I could try something new. Would you say that that's mindfulness? That's slowing down?
That would be experienced by a really, really skilled mindfulness master.
Damn, I wish I'm like a Zen monk or something.
Okay, so let me so this is a great example, but let me break it up.
Yes, please.
Break this down even further. So I'm going to change the scenario a little bit. Okay, so let's say you are bullying me right now.
Yes.
Right? You've made a nasty remark at me that's uncalled for, and it invokes a certain reaction in me.
Yes.
Okay? So what's happening in me in this moment is that I have negative thoughts coming in. How could he say that?
Yes.
Right? What did I do to deserve this? Why me? And I'm feeling emotions of anger, resentment, shame, anxiety. I'm feeling all these things in my body. My chest tightens, my breath quickens, I have this, pit in my stomach.
Yeah.
And I'm also at the same time feeling my fist clenching at this moment because of all the stress that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing myself picking up my fist and about to throw a punch right in your face.
Ouch. Okay.
Right? Now,
Yes.
usually this whole process takes what? 1 second, 2 seconds, and you're just gone. You explode and you just punch, right?
Yeah.
You don't want that, right? You don't want that because
I don't want that.
it's not helpful.
Yes.
It's not necessary. So if you're able to have this kind of mindful awareness, you'll be able to know the very moment when your fist starts tightening. And even before that, before the fist starts tighten, you'll be able to notice the sinking pit in your stomach. You notice the emotions arising in you. You notice the thoughts coming in you. So it's like backtracking in your experience. So it's a little bit like that slowing down. And you're able to detect all these in the moment.
Wow.
One moment at a time, you're noticing all these things happening. And this is the kind of mindful awareness that we are cultivating.
And the minute you notice it, you already have a chance to change it.
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. So now you mentioned that there are a series of things that we could start practicing to gain that skill. Was that something that we could start trying for our listeners and people watching this?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people tell me that they don't have time for mindfulness.
Yeah, me and the rest of us too.
And I would say that it's absolutely not true. So to begin with, I do recognize that if we want to be good at it, we have to invest time and effort in it.
100%.
There's no qualms about that, right? But for a start, we could easily work mindfulness into our day-to-day routine activities, right? Because we are cultivating awareness. And in order to be aware, we have to get ourselves out of autopilot. So all the reactions that we have towards stress is out of autopilot. Autopilot is where we have no idea what's happening. That means we're not aware. So these are like a seesaw relationship. When you're aware, you're not on autopilot. When you're on autopilot, you're not aware, right? So when we want to get ourselves out of autopilot, we have to be aware of what is going on around us and within us. And one of the easiest ways is to build this practice into your day-to-day activities. So for example, when you are, drinking water, how do you know you're drinking water? That's a silly question. This is a new question, right?
Yeah, how do I know I'm drinking water? So now I'm picking up the cup.
Yes.
And I'm going to drink a sip of water, and I'll notice that I'm drinking a sip
So
of
what do you
water.
notice?
The water is cold. The lid is cold, and the texture of the cup is nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So you have awareness right now. But how do we usually drink water? Let's say we're in a conversation. We don't notice, right?
I don't even notice all these things. I'll just gulp the water. Hopefully I don't choke.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, absolutely. So you're on autopilot here and there and then, right? So you don't know that you're doing this thing. So when we cultivate awareness, every single thing that we do, we have to do with awareness as well. And to do this, it is best if we try to do things one thing at a time and just open our senses. Our senses are part of the body. So when you pay attention to the senses, you're in the present because the body will always tell you that you're present. The mind can bring you to the best and the worst places, but the body always tells you that, hey, I'm here, I'm present.
Like right now, what I'm doing, like I'm interviewing you, but I'm paying attention to my breathing.
Absolutely.
Because for the last 45 minutes, I probably wasn't noticing that I was breathing. But as I'm talking to you right now, I'm breathing.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel calm.
Yeah.
Gosh, this is amazing. I wish I met you like way before.
It's never too late, right?
It's never too late.
Yeah.
We're always on time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's move on to the last part of our interview, which is social media addiction, right? Do you know how much time you spend on social media every day? Do you actually like check?
I don't check, but a lot.
A lot,
yeah,
right?
A lot,
Okay. Now,
yes.
according to Hootsuite We Are Social report in 2020, which is last year, we are spending a lot of time on social media, and they break it down by country.
Right.
Okay, and here in Singapore, on average, we spend about 2 hours and 8 minutes on social media. 2 hours and 8 minutes nonstop. I mean, add up together, 2 hours, 8 minutes. Okay. The one with the most, okay, maybe I increase, okay. Hong Kong is 1 hour, 47 minutes. So that's lesser than Singapore. Vietnam is 2 hour, 32 minutes. Next is Thailand, 2 hours, 55 minutes. And then Malaysia, 2 hours, 58 minutes. That's close to 3 hours. Indonesia, rank number 2, 3 hours, 26 minutes. Right at the top in Asia, it's Philippines.
Wow.
4 hours and 12 minutes a day. Contrast that with Japan, that only spends 45 minutes a day.
Wow, that's amazing.
But guess what? Remember a lot of the Zen practices, you know, or I might be stereotyping, but I always feel that, yeah, that makes sense, because whenever I'm in Japan, I notice that people take their time to eat their food. People actually read on the train, right? And you don't see that a lot with us here in Singapore.
Yes.
So the fact is this, the numbers don't lie. It says that we spend a tremendous amount of time on social media. There was another report, I can't remember what's that report, but I remember the number, that on average, we touch our phone 140 times a day.
I remember the figure to be 150 for millennials.
Okay. So 140 was the average, millennials 150. So you time it, 150, right? It's probably touching the phone every 10 minutes. It's crazy. So there is a certain addiction, right? So how do we, first of all, how do we get out of that? How do we stop being so addicted to social media? How do we stop wanting to, check updates on the story? So I noticed myself on TikTok, it's very, very dangerous. Once you start doing TikTok, you swipe, you can't stop, because TikTok somehow know what videos you like, and you just can't stop.
Yes.
How do we stop that?
I think it's also how they manipulate the data, right? So they feed you things that
you want to see.
Yes, you want to see or think you want to see.
Yeah.
Right?
Good point.
And the fact that the whole interface system is built to just keep feeding that pleasure to you, right?
Yes.
Like you never know what's going to come up. So I've read somewhere and seen videos about the analogy of building social media like a jackpot. Right? So every time we refresh the screen, something new comes up, you don't know what's coming up, and there's always that element of surprise and pleasure.
So true.
Yeah.
I think it was the book, Neil who wrote the book Hook. He says this is called variable reward. So when you don't know what reward you'll get, they get you hooked.
Yes, absolutely.
Damn it, social media is so brilliant.
Right. It is brilliant. And it's also up to us how we want to use it,
Okay,
right?
teach us, how do we not get addicted to social media? How do we get back how do we put ourselves back on the control seat, the driving seat?
Yeah, I think in addictions in general, regardless of whether it's social media or food or drinks or anything else, we can get addicted to virtually anything, right? So the first step to breaking out of addiction is always to notice, is to always to be aware, right? We are addicted because we are on autopilot. That's why we keep going after that. Yes. So being aware, so it helps to notice the moments leading up to ourselves reaching for that reward. So I'm going to take myself as an example, and then we can apply it to social media. So let's say this is a glass of wine, right? I used to be really addicted to this because this was my perceived solution to stress, which is not true at all, right? But if I were to do this on autopilot, I wouldn't even notice myself picking up this drink and drinking it. I don't know how I'm consuming it, right? But with awareness, not only am I noticing myself drinking it, I would notice the moments of that build-up towards that craving. And usually this craving resides in the body, on the body level. So understanding your body helps a lot, I find, through my practice experience with managing addictions, because we feel that pleasure in the body. We feel that craving for that pleasure. So I don't really crave for wine or beer. I crave for the pleasure that I get from it. And this pleasure resides in the body. So being able to read your body, to understand it, just to be aware of it is the first step. So once I feel that, I know what triggers me to reach for that. So it could be a thought coming in, right? Like, oh, I can't stand this anymore. And then, a feeling, maybe there's a pit in my stomach that says, oh, I need a drink right now. So if I'm able to observe this, I can make the decision.
Oh my God.
Do I want to reach for that or not? If I can rest with this, I'm not reacting to it by reaching for it.
Very nice. So watch the trigger, and usually it's a physical reaction. And you taught us this right at the beginning to learn how to sit with it, with that discomfort or that trigger.
Yes.
So we don't have to go into autopilot of the response.
Yes. So this applies to social media, right? So what leads you to reach for that phone?
For me, it's boredom. When I get bored, I can't be bored. I hate being bored. I always need to do something.
Yeah.
So boredom, but I've never noticed the physical part of boredom. I don't know how I feel it.
So you can notice it the next time.
Tonight.
Just sit. Yes, tonight. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I'll text you. Okay. That I'll try to figure out where that feeling. It's a feeling, is it? It's not a thought.
It could be a thought. And usually, body sensations are here all the time. Right? It's just a matter of whether we notice them or not. So when you have thoughts coming in, when there's a reaction in you, there will be a body sensation.
Okay, so paying attention to that and then learning how to be... So recognizing it will be one. Now, I might still succumb to watching the Netflix or going to social media. But what you're saying is that as I notice it, it allows me to then change my reaction.
So why don't you try this tonight, right?
Yeah, okay.
Just sit and do nothing for 10 minutes.
Gosh, that would be very difficult. Journaling, do nothing. There is no
nothing.
writing my thoughts. Just sit 10 minutes.
Just sit and just see what happens. Nobody ever dies from boredom. Just see what happens.
This is so quotable.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try that. I'll let you know if it works.
See what you notice, what thoughts come in. See what you feel in the body, what emotions besides boredom come in. Is there anxiety? Is there frustration? Is there fear? And how do you tend to want to behave when you're bored, when boredom is here? Do you, so you notice your behavior, it's like reach for the phone, reach for Netflix or whatever.
Yes, and just notice all that.
And just learn to sit with it.
And learn to be comfortable with that, whatever that feeling is, without
You don't
having to reach out.
necessarily have to be comfortable. You just have to observe it one moment at a time.
Okay, we'll try. It's an experiment, right? I love this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so cool. You make mindfulness so fun, because I always thought that mindfulness is boring, right? But you make it fun. Now, so we have covered so much. I really appreciate that we went really deep into your mindfulness journey and allowing us to understand what mindfulness is, allowing us to understand, your genesis, and then going into that three really bad side, the dark side of social media, right? Inadequacy, and then we had addiction, and then we also have trolls. So I'm pretty sure by now, a lot of listeners and people watching us on the interview, they want to work on the mindfulness. They want to get started, right? Would you recommend, and you gave us a practice, so those of you who are bored, you do that 10 minutes thing as well, or start being more mindful with the little things that you do. Is there books that we can read? Would you recommend one or two for us?
Yeah, I have two that I brought today. So for those of us who may be interested in a more systematic way of learning, so I would recommend the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program. It's being offered throughout the world. And it's highly accessible to everyone. And this book is written about MBSR by the founder of MBSR, Professor Jon Kabat-Zinn.
And the title of the book?
And the title is Full Catastrophe Living.
Gosh, what a word.
What a powerful title, right? Yeah. Essentially, you need to confront the full catastrophe of living as a human being.
100%.
Yeah.
And it says there how to cope with stress, pain, and illness using mindfulness meditation.
Yes. Yes. So this is a really thick book. It's like a mountain to get through, but this is what I recommend. Or any of John Kabat-Zinn's books is great.
Fantastic. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yes.
And you have another one. You brought a...
Yes.
By the way, guys, when she says it's thick, it's really thick. Let me tell you how many pages there are. 650 pages. Yeah, I could do that. Okay.
I can give you some more titles that are easier to read by John Kabat-Zinn,
Got
but this
it.
is the one that I recommend.
Okay.
And another one for those of you who are who are intellectually more curious about the science behind mindfulness and meditation. This is a really good book, The Science of Meditation: How to Change Your Brain, Mind and Body by Daniel Goleman and Richard Davidson.
Fantastic.
So this tells you all the science-based findings of meditation. Very, very interesting book.
Now, what about people who don't like to read, right? But they are doers. Is there an app that we can download, for us to do daily 1-minute mindfulness exercises, or do you offer those kind of videos? Where can we go?
There are actually many apps out there that can help you achieve that and help you to sustain a consistent daily practice. So I could recommend two that I am sort of a part of. So one is MindFi, which is a locally developed app. And it's great for people who perceive yourself to have no time. You're in a rush all the time.
That's everyone.
Yeah, you have like bite-sized practices. Very, very cool app. Another one.
Can you spell that for us?
Yeah, so it's like Wi-Fi, but MindFi.
That's so cool. I mean,
It
we're
is.
always asking for Wi-Fi, right? I mean,
Yes.
but your mind's like a Wi-Fi too.
Yes.
So mind, then five, F-I.
MindFi, yes.
Love
so
that.
that's one. The other one is more a general insight timer apps. It's called Insight Timer, and I have a teacher profile on that, and you can join me for live classes. You can listen to some of the recordings that I have, audio recordings, and just follow that. So I have a series of recordings on that, and you just play
awesome.
and follow. Yeah.
Again, how to spell that? Because for those of them listening to us in
So
podcasts,
insight. So you gain insight, and timer. Insight Timer.
Timer.
Yes.
I'm going to download these two apps.
Yes.
You know what?
Great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Erin. Personally, I've benefited so much from
I'm
your
glad,
conversation. And you really, as I said, you make mindfulness fun. And I really wish you all the best in your career. And I really believe that you're going to help so many stressed out working professionals, including those people who are listening to you. What's the best way to reach out to you?
Social media.
Yes, social media. Which
I use
platform?
LinkedIn a lot, so you can just search Erin Lee Mindfulness and you should get to me.
Yeah, that's how I reach out to her anyway.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, LinkedIn.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
High
you,
five.
Eric.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you.
So there you have it, Erin Lee. I thoroughly enjoyed today's conversation. If you are someone that's very new to mindfulness, I think like me, you're very excited by what she has shared. I love her analogies. I think one of my favorite analogies was the Teflon and the Velcro, that, pleasures or the good things tend to slide away and then pain tend to stick with you, and therefore it gets amplified. So it doesn't really mean that your life sucks. It's just the way your brain wires. So I think one thing that she taught me, it's about learning how to pay attention to things, because whatever that you pay attention to amplify. So I'll definitely want to pay attention to more of the good moments in my life. Something practical that I've also picked up from her is that 3-part question that really I feel it's going to help me a lot in preventing myself to go into autopilot mode. So the first one is, whenever you receive a negative comment or you feel a certain emotion and you're about to react, ask yourself, is it true? And then the second one is it helpful? And then the last one is it really necessary? So go try out this 3-part question. And if you like to take the challenge that she just gave me, go try that 10-minute exercise as well, right? Sit, do nothing for 10 minutes and pay attention to how you feel. Let me know in the comment section. We do videos like this every week. So if you like conversations like this, remember to hit the subscribe button, switch on notification, and I'll see you at the next video.